Hey guys, welcome to Herding Little Cows to the Glory of God. You've got Mark and me today. And we haven't done a video in a little while.
It's Monday.
It's Monday, which is a crazy day in our house. And it was even crazier because I was on hold with the doctor's office for over 15 minutes today. Then they called me back and put me on hold again. And we finally got an appointment scheduled. And we had a chiropractor's appointment. And we had to go to the bank because we had some cash that we needed to make into smaller bills because I'm trying to do math with little ones and they don't understand 20s because you don't use 20s, so we needed some dollars and fives and stuff. Yep. So what else did we do today? Washed all the dishes. Mark washed all the dishes from Sunday because with some help there were other people working in the kitchen.
We got gas in the van.
We got gas in the van because we realized yesterday on our way to church that we were very low.
Yeah, I don't know what y'all's gas prices are, but here in Maine, the cheapest I could find was $3.09 today. Yeah. So I know Virginia and Wayland down in Knoxville are like, it's only $2.70 down here. So I don't know what are gas prices where you are.
Yeah, let us know.
Post in the comment.
And so Mark and the kids worked on dishes and cleaning this morning while I did school with some of the little people. And then they all just had a folding party to get caught up from laundry from the weekend because we don't typically do laundry on Sunday. And our Saturday was a little crazy because we all lost an hour's sleep. If you live in Arizona, you didn't, but everyone else did.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. And Sunday in our house is a day we try to really rest. But yesterday was a nasty storm up here in Maine, which we weren't affected by. But on our way to church, we saw that there were a lot of power outages in our church town, and we were very surprised to find power on at church when we got there.
Which it did go out in the middle of the service, or when one of the elders was giving the announcements and leading the church prayer time. The sound system went out and like boom popped and scared everybody, and really multiple people jumped, and that was really scary. Well, I had to have for the effect.
Oh, okay. So
this is all authenticity.
Okay, so we're being authentic in this video. This video might take a whole different turn than where we were going.
What are we talking about?
Hold on. Now I've got to talk about something else. Because people don't understand our family.
No.
So we're going to go on this thread instead of, we'll do another video about the other thing.
Okay.
Okay. So people don't understand our family. At church yesterday, when that boom happened, it threw Josiah off for the rest of the day. And normally a person's adrenal system, whatever you want to call it, can handle a scare, and it might take you a few minutes to recover, but then you go on with life. It messed Josiah up for the rest of the day. So he had trouble at church. Shortly after that, our kids go down front at church. Our pastor does this really cool thing. It's called the box. A kid is picked to put something in the box, and then he gets to open it without knowing what's in there and make a kid's message to go with the sermon or pointing them to Jesus. That's usually what it is, pointing them to Jesus. Yeah. But anyway, the box yesterday was an announcement about their new grandbaby who's in our church also. And
first child for their youngest son. Their youngest son got married last July, maybe?
Yeah.
So it's their first baby.
So it's very exciting. But everyone clapped, which is great. But then Josiah was like, that was too hard on my head. And we had to keep him really quiet and relaxed for the rest of the day. So then we had to come home and we had to do a nap time, which Josiah's 11. He doesn't always need a nap, but that was necessary yesterday between the storm and then the big boom. It threw off his system for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Mark, because of the storm, was thrown off all day yesterday. The barometric pressure dropping is a problem for Mark and Josiah. And
I was better yesterday than Saturday. Saturday was a train wreck all day long.
Saturday was the day before the storm, so everything was starting to go down.
Yeah.
Also, it was a new moon yesterday, which really affects Josiah. Kind of affects Mark, but definitely affects Josiah. For people who have brain injuries already, our brains are very fluid-filled, like it's 70% water. So if you think about what the moon does to the tide, which was crazy here yesterday, we had an astronomical high tide, it's pulling on that water force, and so it's pulling on that water in your brain too. And most
even the fluid in your eardrums. Yeah. Most people don't notice it because their bodies work right. Our brains don't work right, and that's why our bodies don't handle it well.
So Mark and Josiah have issues on days like yesterday, and the smallest thing can throw them off. And we were just talking yesterday that we go to church with some great people. So this isn't against, if anyone from church is watching this is not against anyone at church. But people at church don't understand our issues because our issues typically get worse Mark and Josiah's issues typically get worse as the day goes on. And so they don't see us. We can't participate in any of the evening activities. So they don't see us in the evening. So they don't realize how bad Mark and Josiah are affected on a daily basis. And it's part of those things with chronic illness. When you have a chronic illness that is kind of sporadic, people don't understand it. I have a form of muscular dystrophy called Charcot-Marie tooth, and you have seen that. Samuel just got diagnosed. You'll see more about that as we go with his future with getting braces and stuff. But I'm the same all day long. Like by the end of the day, my feet hurt a little more, but nobody notices that except my husband notices that I'm walking a little different. But it's not a drastic change, where Mark and Josiah can be totally fine in the morning and have coherent conversations and be active in everything. And by nighttime, Mark is laying on the bed, not able to do anything.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting though. It's not only at the end of the day. So like you were saying, I feel like in the morning, your brain gets like a hard reset when you sleep. I don't dream, or if I do dream, I have no memory of dreams. I've remembered like 3 or 4 dreams in my adult years in total.
Once
and
in
I'll
a while,
be 50 this year.
He'll wake me up and he'll be like, I had a dream last night.
Because she wakes me up every morning. She's like, I had a dream about this and a dream about that and a dream about she'll call her mom on the way to work and they're talking about dreams and all this kind of stuff.
I had a really weird dream last night.
I don't do this. I don't want to hear it. So anyway, yesterday morning, so every week at church, they do the announcements and then they have like a family prayer where anybody in the congregation prays. You know, one of the elders usually will lead from up front and then other people will pray. I love to pray. I feel it's a great participation in the church service. I feel like more men should lead in the church and in their families in praying for our nation, for our leaders, for all of these different things. So I would do that every single week. But when I can't make a coherent sentence in my head, that I don't feel like it's appropriate for me to stand up and pray in front of the congregation, even if it was short.
It might sound like praying in tongues.
It sounds really, yeah, it sounds strange.
Mark's words. He knows what word he wants to say and he says something totally different than what he's trying to say.
Yeah, I forget words, I misplace words, and then sometimes my speech is so slurred that you can't hear me anyway.
And it's more than the average person. I know everybody flubs up a word once
Everybody
in a while.
makes mistakes. Yes, I have that too. No, you don't. You don't.
Yeah,
you
I
don't
forget
have what I
everything.
have. Well, some of you do. A couple of you do. But most people, you know, of the average adult that's less than 50 years old, I'm almost 50. They've tested me with neuropsychological testing and all of this kind of stuff. I've talked to neurologists for the last 30 years. I have a severely diminished memory, executive function, and ability to get my thoughts out. Right now I'm speaking really clearly though. Like that sounds really good because I'm speaking clearly.
But if you ask Mark what his phone number was when he was 10 years old, he'd be able to tell you.
667-8191.
I just randomly made that up. But if you ask him, what did we eat yesterday for breakfast?
Probably something with eggs. We have eggs a lot.
We do have eggs a lot.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Just if we say something to you like, I'm really struggling with memory or words today, do not say, oh yes, I deal with that too. Because unless you have medium to advanced stage dementia, you probably don't.
Yeah. So he's very coherent sometimes, but still has memory issues all the time and is very, very confused sometimes. So we do have a couple at church.
Like I'll stand in the middle of a room and not know where I'm going or how to make my feet move to get there.
So we do have a couple at church, a couple and their daughter who have come over to our house recently. They recently moved to the area. And last time they were here, Josiah had a seizure as they were trying to leave. And Mark was sitting in a chair, head slumped, not able to pick up his head to say goodbye to them. Right. That is how a typical evening is.
It's a normal night at our house.
So that's why we can't participate in, like our church has small groups during the week. We can't do those. Our church has a Bible study that luckily meets in the morning and at night. It's the same Bible study, 2 different groups of people. So we get to do the morning one, which is really nice because there's no way we could do the evening one. And so if you're one of the people who has invited us over for an evening activity and I've had to say no to it, it's because it's not fun for our family when we're just waiting for Daddy or Josiah to fall apart. We're like on edge because if Josiah has a big seizure, it's not really convenient for us to transport him home. Like, you know, if we're always away
Pretty
from
challenging,
home.
yeah.
And there's different things that go with his seizures. And if Mark has a hard time, it can be really hard to get him to the car.
I'm 6'4" and about 300 pounds. Like, you
we
want to
might
move
be-
me when I can't move?
We might be stuck sleeping at your house.
Yeah.
If we do an evening activity.
Yep.
So we're not trying to be rude when we say those things. But just
That's our reality.
anyone who deals with like adrenal fatigue or always living in like a fight or flight mode, some people might not know what I'm talking about, but if you're someone who lives in that, we just live with that times 10 between the two of them. Because if Mark is in a bad state at the moment, if you drop a hairbrush, it can make him fall to the ground. So the things that would make, like yesterday when the thing
We
happened,
actually have a video of like what happens when when someone drops a hairbrush on daddy.
when we were at church yesterday and that microphone thing happened, you know, multiple people, you know, like they were scared. It caused that.
It was loud. Yeah.
Yeah, it caused that like fight or flight response. But for our family, it causes fight, flight, or freeze. And freeze just sometimes takes over. And we have other neurological issues that haven't been addressed in some of the children. Like Malachi recently got tested. We don't have an official diagnosis, but he still has the startle reflex that goes for babies. And so he easily gets jumped by things. And so things that are just common everyday noises, common everyday actions, like popping out and saying boo to someone, it's really hard for our family.
If you scare me, one, I might turn around and hit you, or two, I might fall down and land on you. So either one.
You'd rather he hit you, I think, because he's not always good with his aim. But anyway, yeah, so just kind of a lot of people don't understand our situation, and we're not trying to be rude. We really like...
Well, and I was just going to say, there are other friends. Like, it's not just our condition, because our videos are not always just about us. Like, we know friends who their daughter is bound in a wheelchair. Like, she cannot function outside of a wheelchair, doesn't have a lot of verbal ability. That's a person that you treat a certain way, to be kind to them, to make sure you don't just like, oh, let's go hiking up the side of this mountain, because this person obviously can't do that. So maybe don't invite them to that kind of thing, but also don't just avoid the person, because sometimes people avoid, like a kid like Josiah. He's 11, intellectually he's more like probably 5, 6. He doesn't understand phrases that we say. Like the other day, Lila from Norway, you're probably watching this video, when you said, like, whatever it was you said, something kind about Josiah, like to encourage him. And I said, I think she's got a thing for you. And I was like,
totally just joking.
You know what that means? You have a thing for you, like someone like thinks you're cute or something like that. And he was like, I have a thing? I was like, yeah, a thing. He's like, what is it? I was like, no, it's not a literal thing. It's just a thing. And you have to explain those kind of phrases and euphemisms
to him
all the time. He really thought there was like a package in a box or something. Like there's a thing. There must be a physical thing.
If you were to say there's
understand.
a frog in my throat, he would be like, where's the frog? Show me the frog. Like,
He would say, really? Is it really?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
We do that a lot.
We have that in our family, that they don't understand, like specifically Josiah doesn't understand those types of phrases. But just the idea that we are different from other families, and a lot of those reasons we're different are because we're trying to protect the emotional and mental well-being of the people in our household. And to do that,
sometimes physical.
yeah, and to do that, we need to say no to things sometimes, and just talk to people about how they address this. We've had people who have come up when Mark's having a bad spell, and they want to pray over Mark, which a lot of times means...
It's great. Don't touch me. If I'm in a spell and you touch me, I'm going to be on the floor. And someone's going to get hurt, and it's probably going to be me.
Yeah, I myself have to be very careful touching Mark in that state. Naomi, Samuel, and I know how to touch him in ways so that he doesn't fall over and stuff like that. But for the average person to come up and pray over him, that is great, and he can hear what you're saying. But if you
Even if I look unconscious, I can still hear you.
But if you touch him, it's bad. So when I say, just please don't touch him, I'm not saying it to be rude. I'm not saying because I think you're doing anything wrong. I'm saying it because for his well-being. Or if we ask you to have your child stop doing something,
Clicking, making loud noises, slamming doors, screaming.
There's certain things that will throw Mark or Josiah off too. And so we're not trying to be mean. It's just something that causes an issue.
I think that's why people always say, "Oh, you have such well-behaved children. They're so quiet in church." I'm like, but if they were allowed, they'd know they'd set their brother off or their dad off. So they're just being considerate. But not. I mean, the whole world can't operate on our standards, obviously.
And there are times that our children are loud. We give them times to be loud when Daddy and Josiah are feeling good, or with permission. I don't think it's a good thing to make a separate set of rules in your house of like, here's what we do when Mommy's around, here's what we do when Daddy's around. But the kids know, like, if Daddy's gone, like, let's say Naomi...
Which never happens.
It doesn't happen now because Virginia used to be a driver for us. We now only have me as the driver. Naomi's getting her license she's going for a license test soon.
But Virginia was my health partner. She would keep me safe and
if he had a doctor's appointment, they could go. So it doesn't happen very often that he's gone. But like if he was gone, we might put on some crazy music and have a dance party while Daddy's gone, because there is the need for kids to be able to be loud and express themselves and everything.
Like bang on the drum and play the recorders, which to me are like torture. So we let the kids play the recorders out on the sun porch, which has a big sliding glass door. And even then I still have to kind of go away from that room most of the time.
Yeah. So it's not that we make our kids sit like robots all the time. It's that we have to just do it within context of, it's kind of like, you know, if you have a baby who needs to sleep, we don't make the house totally silent for a baby, but you do like, hey, we don't need to play the recorder in the room with the baby.
Throwing the ball against the wall. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah.
Those types of things, you know, we stop those actions for the most part during the day, unless it's a planned activity. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So anyway, so you got our crazy Monday morning, what we deal with on a regular Monday, and then how our family has to deal with medical issues. That was not the video we're going to make. So we're going to make another video here while the kids are still happy about finances. So come back and watch a finance video.
Bye.
See you guys next time.